Welcome to Rise and Shine Daily Business Tech Boost with me, Charly Leetham. If you're a small business owner looking to simplify technology and get real, actionable advice from someone with 35 years of IT experience, you're in the right place. Every episode, I'll dive into tools and systems like email, CRM, marketing and tracking, and break them down into bite-sized tips you can use right away. Your time is valuable, so let's get straight to the point. It's time to work smarter, not harder.
Rise and Shine. Here's your daily dose of business tech inspiration with me, Charly Leetham. Episode number, let me just check, 525 today. It's one of those days. We are going to be talking about a question I got asked by a client. No screen share today, no tutorial, just a little bit of a chit chat. And the question I got asked was, how do I manage my PHP? Is that through WP Admin? I've got a WordPress website. We have just spent a lot of time upgrading their site, their theme, their plugins, cleaning it all up so that we could upgrade the version of PHP to the absolute latest version. They were on a very old version of PHP. And the answer to today is no, you don't do it through WP Admin. So let's talk about what PHP is, very high level, and then where you would manage it, why you would manage it. PHP is a piece of software that sits on your web server. It sits above the operating system and it executes codes. It's a coding language. PHP is a coding language like Python, like JavaScript, PHP, ASPX. It's a coding language. It is the language that WordPress uses to display all the websites. So WordPress uses JavaScript and PHP predominantly, and PHP is the executing code. JavaScript is another piece of code, but PHP is the main part of it. That is the thing that has to be upgraded regularly. Now, PHP is up to version 8.4. At least it was the other day. It might be just released 8.5. Each PHP version has a lifetime. If you go to php.net, you can have a look at the latest versions. You can also have a look at what versions are current, what versions are still being maintained, how long they're going to be maintained for, when their end of life is, and when their end of life support finishes. So when they end of life a piece of software or a coding language like PHP, they say, we're not going to be doing any more development on this. We're not going to be enhancing it any further. This is it. This is the cutoff. We've now got these other versions that are in play. Now, PHP's got 4 or 5 versions in play at any one time. They said, that's it. No more development on this. We are going to support this. We're going to do security patches and bug patches on it up until this date, and then after this date there is no more support. What is. So we in the server side of things, in the support side of things, have to manage that. We have to manage what versions of PHP we're running on our servers, what sites are running on those versions of PHP. We need to know that. And then we need to know when those PHP versions are actually going to be unsupported, fully unsupported. And by the time they're fully unsupported, we need to have them off of the servers and everyone transitioned to the latest versions of PHP, latest versions of the software. This doesn't just happen for PHP, it happens for other software as well. I'm talking specifically about PHP because that's what hits most of my clients. It hits most WordPress website owners. Why? Because themes and plugins and add-ons all tend to code to a particular version of PHP. Now, when I say that, I don't mean it's like, oh, it's only version 5.6 specific. What happens is PHP will release a version, they will have a set of functionality in there. They will have a set of functions that we can call them, little libraries that we call as coders and say, this function, we need this function to run when we're doing it. As the versions update, some of those functions end up not being used anymore. They get what we call deprecated. They're still in the system, but they're not going to be updated anymore, and they're often replaced by other functions. In fact, 99% of the time, they're replaced by new functions. So on the ball coders will say, oh, this function's deprecated. I need to start moving this function, and I need to go and find all the calls to this function in every piece of code I've written and rewrite that code to use this new function. That's the utopia. It doesn't happen. Of course it doesn't happen. There's a lot of code out there. A lot of code runs on legacy functions. But when PHP updates and an older version starts to go end of life, like end of life support, we're not going to do it anymore, it needs to come off of the servers. Why does it need to come off of the servers? It needs to come off of the servers because out in the public now are all the release notes that say these are all the known security issues with it. These are all the known bugs with this piece of software. Makes it a heyday for hackers to be able to get in and try to compromise your site using all of that information. I'm not going to say they will, it just increases the possibility that they might be able to do it. So once we get to that point, we've got to get it off of the servers, because once they're into a server, especially a shared server, they get it on one site, they can probably access everything else as well. Smart hackers can do that. So there's the level of risk goes up exponentially as a piece of software starts to age out, as a version of PHP starts to age out. So that's why we have to do the updates, okay? The updates are not easily done. Well, sorry, I'm going to rephrase that. Sometimes it's not easy to do the updates because some of our sites are running on very old versions of PHP where those functions no longer exist, and we've now got to move them up to these new versions. We need to find out what's going to break. We need to find out how to fix it. We might need to replace plugins. We might need to replace themes. We might need to rewrite code within themes to work. So to me, that's why we actually have to keep everything up to date all of the time. Make sure we keep our sites as up to date as possible. Keep our PHP versions up to date as possible, because then if something does break between one version and another, the differential is smaller. The things that are going to affect us is smaller. So that's what PHP is. That's why we need to keep updating it. We need to keep it up to date. Why it's important for you as site owners to understand why when your hosting provider comes to you and says, we're updating PHP, you need to make sure your sites will run, what it means to you, why it's important to you. The next question is, how do you as a site owner keep your PHP version up to date? You need to work with your hosting provider. If you are managing your own server, if you don't have a managed package on your server, you need to become familiar with how to check the versions of PHP and how to upgrade them. If you are running cPanel servers, there is often, not always, there's often a PHP Manager in your cPanel login that you can go and have a look at and see what versions of PHP are installed, what versions of PHP your sites are running, and you can upgrade your sites to those versions. If you're running other interfaces, there may be something, but the upshot of all of this is if you have managed packages with your hosting provider, log a support call and say, can you tell me what version of PHP we're running? What's the latest? Is there anything I need to do to manage my hosting better, to manage my site better? Now, good hosting providers will update it as standard, and they will be advising you if you have sites that are on older or legacy versions of PHP that need updating, and they're a bit concerned about it. That's actually what happened with my client. Her hosting provider contacted her and said, this site, we can't update PHP on this site because it's so old. They actually started charging her a fee to manage the legacy version of PHP because they have an increased monitoring that they need to do. They've got increased things they need to do. So they charged her an extra fee just to manage that for her. Once we got it upgraded, she lost that fee. She didn't have to pay that fee anymore. She managed to say to them, nope, done, you can take it off. So work with your hosting provider. If you're not sure, ask your hosting provider. If you have cPanel or a hosting panel, you can log in and have a look and see what versions you might be able to log in and see what versions of PHP your site is running. Be proactive. Be gracious with your hosting provider. Sometimes they're just not used to customers who are proactive and want to get a better idea of what's going on. If you have support people who do this for you, contact them. Have this conversation with them. Support people are going to love me for this. They're not. They might, but they're going to love me for this because they're going to get questions like, what version of PHP is my site running? Is it up to date? Do I need to do anything? Be proactive though. Take responsibility. Make sure that you are a partner in the security of your website and your business and not just a consumer of it. I hope that was useful to you. I hope it made some sense. It's not an easy topic to try and disseminate, like break it down into what it is, because it's quite esoteric. Like you go to a web server and PHP is on it. You just assume it's right. 9 times out of 10 it is right. You can be a little bit more certain of it. Was this episode useful to you? If it was, please give it a like. If you've got any questions or comments, you can leave them wherever you're watching or listening to this video. You can always come across to my locals community, askcharlyleetham.locals.com, and join the conversation there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you find out when I drop more content. And guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.
Hey there, thanks so much for tuning in to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost. I hope today's episode gave you some actionable insights that will make your business tech work smarter for you. If you found value, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other small business owners who could use a daily boost. For more tips, tools, and resources, visit www.askcharlyleetham.com. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and let's make tech simple together.